we got Juju back. And look, whatever you think of Juju, I'm sure for the most part it's warranted because he's done some dumb stuff. But as a Chief, he balled out. Now, how can you not feel that way? You can have a little bit of arrogance and cockiness, but also be mindful of the fact that you know the team that you have. They still got Marlon Humphrey. They still got Kyle Hamilton. They still got Rokon Smith. Still got Kyle Van Noy, who really put his foot in his mouth in that AFC Championship game, now did he? What's going on, everyone? You're listening to the Antonio Chauran Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Antonio Chauran, and thank you all for tuning in. Um, I had a little bit of a slow moment last week. This was actually supposed to come out last week. Um, I'm up here recording. Also, I have a new mic angle. I'm gonna try this out. I see, like on your Colin Cowherds of the world and shows like that, sports shows, they have their mic angled like this. I'm gonna try it. We're gonna see how it sounds. And also, because I very much when I talk, I use my hands a lot. And so I always caught myself like hitting the mic. Now I have all this free space to do what I want. So we'll see how this goes. But anyways, I'm on here last week. Re- well, I'll get to it. Thought I was recording. I'm literally giving my thoughts about what I think the Chiefs roster is going to look like because that's really what the video was supposed to be. It was me, reporting on all of the stuff I had heard coming out of the Chiefs camp of who got cut, who's on the team, who made the roster, blah blah blah. No, the roster, the final 53 man roster hadn't been solidified yet, and I'm talking, I'm like yapping to myself for a good 30-35 minutes. And I wrap up, I'm like, cool. That was a good video. I go to hit the button that I thought said end recording. I never hit record to begin with. So I was literally just talking to myself for a good 30 to 35 minutes. And yeah, not my brightest moment. It happens to the best of us. Um, but yeah, I felt really dumb in that moment. So it's okay. And it kind of threw up my schedule for the rest of the week because I wanted to talk about the roster, just my thoughts about it, and then make like another video for like Spotify. And then next week, now being this week, I was going to give my preview for the Thursday night game against the Ravens. So what this video is going to be is a combination of both. I'm not going to get too deep now into the roster just because now it's finalized and we know everything. Some of the video that I had from last week is who I thought maybe would make the team, who I thought wouldn't make the team. But obviously now, like, we know who's made it, we know who hasn't. So yeah, so what I'm gonna do here is just give my initial thoughts about the Chiefs 53 man roster, who made it, who didn't, my thoughts on those who got cut. In my opinion, deservingly so. No hate, no shade, but at the end of the day, if you don't make the cut, it's the NFL, right? Um, and so I'm gonna give my thoughts just about that and my preview for. I'm recording this on Wednesday night, so tomorrow night's game with the Chiefs and Ravens. So, just my quick thoughts, and I have it actually right in front of me. The Chiefs roster, the updated 53 man roster. What really stuck out to me, and just really going into this off season, was the wide receiver room. Obviously, it's no secret that was the real stain on the offense last season. Led the league in drops. I think we had like a league leading 44 drops in that season, and it just wasn't good. We had no guys that were really outstanding receivers, really outside of Rasheed Rice. Um, Justin Watson had some bright spots here and there, and that was, really it. MVS was very frustrating at times, you know? And obviously Kadarius Tony, Sky Moore, I have been, I I really wanted him to do well. I've been waiting for him to develop and really take that next step. And specifically with Sky, I know when I had Nate and Yvonne on the show, the Informed Idiots, um, Nate was speaking very high of Sky, that we weren't putting him in prime positions that he needed to be, that his specific skill set will really shine in. And I get that 100%. You want to be able to make an offense and build schemes that pertain to the guys that you have on the roster. But at the end of the day, if the grand scheme of guys that you have don't pertain to that one player, who are you going to favor? Are you going to favor more of the play that your other more prominent players are going to be able to exceed at compared to that one? More likely than not, yeah. And so I just felt that I really wanted him to take that next step, and he didn't. Now, he made the final roster, which was one of the guys, like, I was on the fence about. I didn't know if he was gonna make it or not. But obviously, Kadarius Toney got cut, which I thought was huge. Now, look, I preface this by saying he had an amazing play in Super Bowl 57 that, arguably helped us win that game, or was the reason we won that game, with an amazing punt return, the longest punt return in NFL Super Bowl history. Um, and then he follows up that season, the last season, with just a total shit show. Let's just call it what it was. It just was bad. He was dropping passes, he was committing dumb fouls, just really bad mental errors, lining off sides. Got flashbacks to the 2018-2019 AFC Championship game with D Ford lining up off sides. If that didn't happen, we win that freaking game, and who knows? Maybe we go on and win the Super Bowl that season. I've been, very persistent on thinking that we would have won against that Rams team. Now, we lost in a 54-51 shootout earlier that season. It was like week 11, I want to say. The last game that actually Kareem Hunt played as a Chief, fun fact. Um, and yeah, and so, who knows how it goes in that game, but I very much like our chances against that team. Anyways, it was just a bad show for Kadarius. And I don't know what's going on now with him. I think I saw reports possibly that he went to go visit the Seahawks either today or yesterday. I can't remember. Um, so yeah, I like how our receiver room shaped up. Obviously, having Hollywood Brown, Rasheed Rice, Xavier Worthy, Justin Watson, Sky Moore, McCall Hardman, and Juju Smith Schuster. We got Juju back. And look, whatever you think of Juju, I'm sure for the most part it's warranted because he's done some dumb stuff. But as a Chief, he balled out for that one season, had a little under 1,000 yards, like 920 something yards. But he balled out with us. He played great, and I personally would have rather kept him over NVS because I just felt like he brought more to the table than MVS did. Um, But I just love how we've been able to round out this receiver core. I really have. And to my knowledge, from a legal standpoint with Rasheed Rice, I don't think anything is taking place this season. Maybe next season, but this season I think he's in the clear in terms of being available all 17 games this season, barring obviously any injury or anything like that. The running back room, we have Pacheco and Clyde. um, there's been some stuff going on with Clyde in terms of him personally. I won't really get into that, but I know we have him on the roster. He was placed on IR, dealing with some mental health stuff. You have to understand that, and I think I find it very commendable of the Chiefs wanting to be there as a resource for him for things like that, because you never know what people deal with, man. You just don't. You don't know what they've dealt with in their life, the hardships, the trauma. Everyone has a different background with that in terms of how they were raised and what they were exposed to. So I'm not getting too into that, but so he's on the team from that standpoint. Carson Steele, from UCLA. We have him on as a fullback, maybe running back too, but mainly fullback. I'm very happy with that. We actually, and this is more with the practice squad, but I think he's being elevated. Samaji Perine. I liked him a lot with the Bengals. He cut us up a little bit, and because him and Joe Mixon were kind of a 1-2. Joe Mixon was a prominent back. He was a primary back. But whenever Samaji came in, man, he tore us up. He really did. So for him to now, because then he was with the Broncos last season, now being with us, I'll take that, man. I will take that all day. I was very happy with that signing. Um, that's really all I have, at least on the end of the quarterbacks. I think the tight end room is really cool. I will say this too. I was surprised about Irv Smith Jr. Um, I had been very high on him in terms of him being like the finished version of finished in terms of like the fullest potential of a Jody Fortson. Uh, but we released him and we ended up signing this Peyton Hendershot kid from Dallas who doesn't really have much to show stat wise, but he's a big boy. He's like 6'5", 6'6". I think he's going to be more in like running packages, blocking and stuff. So I think that's really where Andy will want to use him. And Jared Wiley, the rookie from UCLA as well. Um, Great. I'm excited with this tight end room. Obviously, Kelsey leading it, and then Noah Gray as that number two. On the defensive side of the ball, I like where we're at. We kept 5 linebackers. I know that was the main thing that from the defensive side of the ball that was really kind of loud, keeping obviously Nick Bolton, Drew Tranquil, Leo Chanel, Jack Cochran, and Cam Jones. Um, and also something else that was a little sneaky of a pick was he was listed as a linebacker, but he's actually an edge. Um, from the Cardinals, we picked him up. Let me find Cam Thomas from the Cardinals. So now as defensive ends, we have Karlaftis, Mike Dana, um, Malik Herring, Felix Anudike Usama, the guy that we picked up from K State as a rookie. We drafted him last draft. Yeah. So, and about Felix, I've heard a lot of inconsistencies in his game. People didn't even think that he was going to make the final 53-man roster. So I'm glad that he did. Just, continue to develop. I think, and I've seen this too, a great mentor to young Chiefs players, young Chiefs edges is Tom Bahali. I've seen him, I've seen clips of him coming to Chiefs camps and just like helping these kids with their tech because they are kids. They're like 22, 23, 24 years old. They're young. They have a lot of developing to do. And having a guy like Tamba, I think, is huge and something that is just a great resource for these players. So I think is great. Our cornerbacks, with obviously not having Snead anymore, that's tough. But at the end of the day, it's just how the business side of the NFL goes. We got Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson, Joshua Williams, Nazeeh Johnson, Nick Jones, and Chris Roland Wallace. I think we got a solid, deep cornerback room. Obviously, Trent McDuffie's leading it. He's been playing great. I can't remember which one, if it's either Jalen Watson or Joshua Williams' paper cups on Instagram. I think that's a funny handle. Um, but yeah, I think we're solid in that department. Young, really young group. I think Trent is going to take another leap here. I'm just really excited, to see how their development is going to go because I think that he is. I think he already made a name for himself the next day. So it happened again. Um, not exactly. I obviously hit record, but for some reason, as I was going through my thoughts of the cornerback room, my mic went out, and so literally the entire last half of my video uh, was muted. You could not hear me. So not sure what that was about. This light, like on my, which just went red. That's never happened before. So I don't know what that was about. Um, needless to say, uh, I'm kind of annoyed about that, but it is what it is. I'm here recording the next day. And so I'll obviously still have this uploaded by noon today. Um, it's all good. It happens. But it kind of happened at a perfect place because I was just wrapping up my thoughts about the roster, the Chiefs roster who made the final 53 man team. So we can really just get into my thoughts about tonight because now it is Thursday morning. It is 9:46 a.m. Eastern time. I just, got my un cafecito, a little bit of ASMR for you this morning. Okay. So I'm not, you know what? I'm actually not going to. I was going to say, I'm going to try to remember, for the most part, what I said last night, but I mean, I know how I feel. So I'm just going to assume that I'm going to be saying the same thing like I did last night. I think the Chiefs are going to come out firing. I do. And the reason why is because they have been, um, so repressed, so suppressed. I guess that's a better word to say, and limited offensively for over a little bit over a season now, and they don't want to feel that again. The entire 2023-2024 season, they were not able to do what they wanted to do offensively, as they have been able to in seasons past. And so I think because of that, because of the new guys that we have on the team, obviously I know Hollywood Brown isn't playing tonight, which I'm not tripping about because at the end of the day, it's week one. I understand that this can really set the tone for the season, just in general. I'm not talking about for these two teams in particular. Well, more the Ravens than the Chiefs, but I'll get into that. I'll get into that. Um, so I don't want to risk it. There's no reason to. And yeah, the more he rests, the better. Obviously, our first three games, we got a lot going on with the Ravens and the Bengals and then the Falcons. And let me say this about the Falcons too. I completely forgot about them when I was talking about NFC threats. I think it was in the last video I did. I kind of just brushed off the NFC South. Like, they're not really no good teams are going to be out of there. That's my fault. I completely forgot about the Falcons. I think they're going to do really well this season. Um, I think they can win at least 11 games, 11, 12 games possibly. They got it together down there. Anyways, I just wanted to say that. Back to here. I think Hollywood Brown missing. Yeah, I don't think it'll hurt us too much. Obviously, we got Xavier Worthy. I think he's going to have a prominent role in this offense right out of the gate. I really do. Um, and yeah, even though he's a rookie, I think all of the hype around him, I think the way that Andy can see us using Hollywood Brown, I think he maybe sees him as like another Deshaun Jackson potentially. I feel like he could be like that 2.0 version of him to Andy. So we'll see what happens there. But with Juju being implemented, I don't know how much he's going to be involved in the game plan. I don't know how many reps he just got there like a week or two ago. Um, but I mean, we still got Kelsey, we still got Rasheed Rice, we still got Justin Watson, McCole Hardman. I feel good with where the team is at. I do, and obviously, we still got Pacheco. And yeah, so I think we're going to do just fine. I'd be interested to see if we're going to use Samaji a lot. Samaji P Ryan, we got him from the Broncos originally with the Bengals. That's how I really knew him from, or where I knew him from. I don't know how much we're going to be using the run game. I said this. I definitely know I said this last night. I don't see us using Pacheco more than maybe. I don't see him getting more than 12 to 15 carries this game. Um, which is still a decent amount, but I don't think he'll be at 15 is on the generous side. I would edge more towards maybe like around 12 carries for the simple fact that Andy's going to want to let it fly. 100%. He's going to want to sling that ball all around, and Mahomes is going to want to as well. You just know he is because we want to set the tone. I believe from the get go that this isn't the team from last season. This isn't the team that yeah we still won it all, but we're an even better version of that team. Do you have any idea how scary? that is to opposing teams, I don't I feel like if anything, it's possible. Maybe we took maybe a little maybe like a half a step back on defense potentially. Obviously, Legere Sneed, I don't want to get too ahead of my skis here with just how much I've been raving about the defense. That was a big loss. It was. But I feel like we still have a lot of the great pieces on defense. We still got Nick Bolton. We got Dutrenko. We got Nick Jones. We still got Charles Omenihu. Obviously, he's coming back from injury, but he was huge for us up until he got hurt in the AFC Championship game. We still got Trent McDuffie. We still got Justin Reed. We still got guys, and we have guys on the come up. You know, so I feel good with where we're at. I'm not nervous at all. The only thing I want to see more improvement on the defensive side of the ball are turnovers. More specifically interceptions because we led the league at some point. I don't know if I think we finished like at least top 3 in like forced fumbles. So we were punching the ball out of the arm of the opponent. We were able to do that, but we weren't getting any interceptions. So I'd like to see a little bit of an uptick in that. But obviously, we'll see what happens there. Um, but got back to this particular game with the Ravens. Again, I think we're going to come out guns blazing. I really do, and I think we're going to open up the game by scoring a touchdown. We're going to get a touchdown on the opening drive, and from then on, I think the Ravens are going to be playing catch up. I think it's how it's going to go because mentally as well, and I'll say this part before I kinda get to more of the Ravens roster. We have the mental edge. We do. I think because of what happened last season in the AFC Championship game and all the hype around the Ravens, I knew it was gonna be a slugfest. I knew it was gonna be in the trenches. 17-10 wasn't the exact score I was anticipating, but I knew it wasn't gonna be a shootout. And to win the way that we did, I I think there's just a lot to be said about that mentally. And I've heard a lot of critics about Lamar Jackson in terms of, yeah, he's a two-time NFL MVP, but he has not had the type of success that you would hope that a guy like of his caliber would have in the playoffs. He just hasn't. And I think it was Nick Wright on First Things First saying that this is arguably like one of the top 4 or 5 games that Lamar Jackson has ever played in his entire career. This Thursday game tonight is one of those games because, like I alluded to, it's the first game of the season. Obviously, it's one of 17, right? But it can set the tone. And I feel like with this Ravens team, if they're going to really want to make, a push to get this to the Super Bowl this season, they more so than the Chiefs need to set the tone tonight. They do. Um, because I feel like if they don't, then it's going to be kind of a similar narrative towards throughout the season that Baltimore is a good team, but they can't beat the bully. And let's be honest, the Chiefs are playing with house money. They won back-to-back Super Bowls. If they don't win the Super Bowl again this year, they're chilling. There isn't going to be as much criticism as there would be to a Ravens team. There's going to be more questions more than anything. They're going to be like, "What's up?" Another season of disappointment. Those are going to be the headlines. Lamar can't win the big game. Is John Harbaugh on the hot seat? What's going on? I can already see it now. I already see the print on the paper. The Chiefs aren't facing that type of pressure this season. They're just not. And just talking about this Ravens team, obviously, I know they went through some changes over this past offseason. A big loss, Patrick Queen going over to the Steelers, to the Ops. But look, I understand their defense is still stellar. They still got Marlon Humphrey. They still got Kyle Hamilton. They still got Roquan Smith. Still got Kyle Van Noy, who really put his foot in his mouth in that AFC Championship game. Now, did he? Thought that was funny. Um, and offensively, adding Derrick Henry to their squad. I mean, come on, like and Zay Flowers, another year of him developing. Still got Mark Andrews. You know, they still got their core guys together for the most part. Um, so I'm not saying that Baltimore is like a lesser version of themselves. In fact, I think they're going to want to run the ball more, and that's where a little bit of my hesitancy is defensively for us because we were never like the best run defense throughout the season. Again, a big critique against the Ravens as to why they did not run the ball in the AFC Championship game because of the defense, because of the run defense that they had. Um, but you know that's what happens when you're facing a team like us. We get you out of your sweet spot. We get you out of the game that you are comfortable with because of how imposing we are. That's what happens, you know. So I think a perfect example is like when the Patriots beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, that high power flying offense, the team that put up 54 points against the Chiefs that same season in the 18-19 season. Now our defense was shit that season, so I'm not, you know, putting too much into that. But they only end up putting 10 points, I think, in that game. So, you know, but when you play against quality teams and when you play against imposing, threatening, intimidating teams, they're gonna throw you off your stoop a little bit. That's just what happens, and so I feel like that's what happened in that game, and I'm not saying, like, to a T it's gonna happen tonight, but I feel very confident that we're gonna be able to pull this one out and we're gonna win. I think the final score will be 27-23 Chiefs. Um, I feel like the score may make it seem like it's a little bit closer than it is, but like I said, I think we're scoring on the opening drive. We're putting up 7. And then from then on, we're going to be leading the game. That's genuinely where I see this happening. I don't see us having those mental errors in week 1 of last season against the Lions where we're just dropping balls left and right. I don't see that happening. I don't. I feel like this is a fresh slate. And I feel like it's a fresh slate, but I also feel like we're carrying momentum from last season because obviously, you know, they're going to tell you the cliches, they being the players and coaches. You know, this is a new season. You know, we're going to take it a game at a time. But come on, let's be honest. You're also thinking about last season. You're like, holy shit, we won it all with the team that we had, the offense specifically. Oh, we're going to kill it this season. They're thinking that in the back of their head. They're not going to say that, but I can say it for them because it's true. Like, how can you not feel that way? You can have a little bit of arrogance and cockiness, but also be mindful of the fact that you know the team that you have. You know what you possess. You know what you're capable of. And so I think when you have that perfect marriage of feelings and attributes, I think the sky's the limit. I'm not saying we're going to go undefeated this season either. I think we'll finish with like 13 wins, 12, 13 wins. There's going to be games. It's inevitable. This Chiefs team, we always lose a few games that we're not supposed to, but that's the NFL for you. So yeah, that's where I think it's going to stand. I think they're going to want to feed the ball to. There's going to be a lot of um, RPOs. There's going to be a lot of fake handoffs to Henry, and then Lamar is just going to go run or whatever. I feel like yeah, there's going to be a lot of that. Um, but I feel good with where we're going to be. And in fact, you know, maybe they'll want that to be the game plan. But if they fall behind early, maybe they'll get out of that. And Lamar's going to want to throw the ball more. So you know, we'll see. But we got to look out for that run threat. That run threat because Derrick Henry is still that guy, and Lamar Jackson is 20 pounds lighter. Which he was saying like he was fat last time. I'm like, dude, you were still running like a 4.340. Now he's even less, and he can run even faster. That's crazy. So he's even more elusive, even more quick, which I didn't think was possible, but here we go, right? So, anyways, that's what I'm anticipating for tonight's game. And if that doesn't happen, I'm gonna look really dumb. And when I come back to give my thoughts on the game, I will not be as happy. But I don't feel like that's gonna happen. I feel confident with where this team is right now. I feel good with where we're at. Um, and if you're a Chiefs fan, how can you not? Right? Like I feel like last season has just given us the expectation this season that we can do it again. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Obviously, look, stuff happens, injuries happen, knock on wood, we're all good there. But at the end of the day, I think like I was saying about players having the right mix of a little bit of arrogance, cockiness, but also confidence and mindfulness. I feel like us fans can share the same thing because we know the team that we have. We know the team that we had last season that won it all. And who's to say that we can't do it again? So I will leave it at that. Thank you all for listening, and I will catch you all next time. Peace.